Arsabai ore futures are continuing to increase. The Bolians have finally agreed to allow the Ferengi Gaming Commission to take over all their gambling emporiums. And Grand Negazek has decided to allocate extra funds for research on a new breed of Hyperion beetles. Those little fellows are going to revolutionize the entire beetle snuff industry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. That was a long one.
I'm surprised you got through that without stumbling. That was a good job.
Me too. I didn't practice it. That was luck. And we are, speaking of luck, very lucky to be joined today by Miss Chase Masterson.
Thank you. So good to see you guys.
Yes. We are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 5, Episode 20, Ferengi Love Songs. By the way, my name is Ryan T. Husk. This one is written by Ira Steven Behr and Hans Beimler. Funny fact, when I typed in Beimler, we've been reviewing Lower Decks episodes so much it auto-corrected to Boimler. But it really did. I was like, wow, this thing's learning. And it was directed by Mr. Rene Auberjonois, our friend.
Yes.
And this was April 21st, 1997. Anyway, wow, this is a fun one. How are you, Chase?
So thrilled to be here. So excited to be doing your show again. I love you guys. It's always such a fun day, really. I mean, the whole thing, the way you guys do the segments and then the whole team at the end. Yeah, big fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You're always so kind, which is rightful for the Be Kind lifestyle that you've promoted.
You're very sweet.
What a pro.
Well done, Cirroc.
Thank you. I've been studying. I rehearsed it. No, this is a big episode for you, Chase, because this is the engagement. This is it right here. This is you guys solidifying your relationship and Rom kind of taking that leap and, you guys working out the logistics of this upcoming marriage that you're planning.
It was a very character insightful episode for both of us. It moved Rom and Lita along and our love story along, and I was really grateful for it. And I loved what happened with Wally Shawn and Cecily, God rest her. I mean, doing this episode was just a blast.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of themes in here that they covered specifically about women's rights and how women are treated in society. In the documentary, they talked about some of the issues that they touched upon on this show with religion and racism. And I think they really did a good job also with women's rights by taking it into the characters, into the Ferengi world that, obviously are so chauvinistic about how they treat women. Yeah. So they're really able to deal with these absurd concepts that have been, in our tradition and in our culture of how we treat women and how we're supposed to look at women and the roles that they're supposed to be playing and how we've defined those roles. And I think that, your character, along with Moogie character, are not willing to accept those roles. And I think that's what makes you really outstanding, strong characters on the show.
Thank you. That's so lovely to hear. I think what they did in terms of having Lita and Moogie be strong and really determined to do what we were doing, each of us were doing in this episode was very important. It was forward moving, even in terms of television for that time. It was really great because we weren't the characters who were strong wearing it on our sleeves like Kira, but we could be strong in other ways. Strong in our convictions. Lita was strong in her love for Rom. Moogie was strong I loved Ira and Han's twist of the fact that Moogie was really running the Ferengi Empire. And, she was made out to be by Quark. She was made out to be this gold digger, but really she was the brains behind the whole operation. And it was perfect and so well played by Cecily. And what a great message, women are not what they may seem to the old fashioned male gaze.
Mm-hmm. There was a line in there and I don't think I wrote it down, but I think Quark said, "You are the power behind, the king, or the power behind
The
the
throne,
Negus,
the
the
power
throne."
behind the throne.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what it was. And that's reminiscent of, the line, behind every great man, or behind every good man, there's a great woman, or something like that. It just reminded me of that, where it's like, in this society where it's all about the men have to rule, it's like, yeah, and even the main ruler, the reason he's doing anything right or doing anything well enough to work is because of the lady behind him whispering in his ear and pulling the strings.
Best. Whispering in his huge hairy ears.
Yeah, but you had a line too, Chase, and one of your lines was, "A marriage is about sharing everything,
Mm.
including money," right? And I think that's a poignant thing, because we always, you know, the conception is that you don't want to share everything, right? It's difficult. Like, this is my personal, this is mine, this is mine. I think we start that as a kid,
Mm.
Yeah.
mines, right? That's
Yeah.
my toy, that's my bottle, those are my,
Right.
whatever it is. And then your parents tell you as a child, no, you have to share. It's okay. Be nice and share your toys, or share your pencil, or whatever it is that you're sharing. Share something. But then, as you know, then here we go. We go right back to, this is mine, that's mine. And the idea of sharing something, I think, was big for what your character brought up. It's like, no, if we're going to merge our lives together, then we're going to have to merge them completely. We can't have certain exceptions on the table, or rules that I have to follow. And I like that, the way that you described that in this scene.
Thank you. It is definitely an episode about sharing, and you're so right about human nature. People do have that. It's, I think, survival nature in all of us, if we're honest. And then we learn that sharing is the way, and we all get benefit from that. And Rom could also have benefited from that. Lita was a hard working woman. It wasn't all about
Mm-hmm.
Rom's money and him sharing with me. I was a breadwinner too. And
Mm-hmm.
Right.
so, and it really also went to the point of that our marriage is for keeps. And I don't want us to have an out button. Nothing against anybody who makes that decision in real life, but that's how Lita felt, and what she wanted. And especially having, broken up with the cute British doctor, that was saying something, that Lita was all in forever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
and I also,
Sorry, I was just going to say, an out button. That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, it does kind of sound like you're already planning for the demise before you even get into the thing. And I don't remember what WP&P stood for. I wish I'd written that down, because I'm sure it was something beautifully convoluted by the Ferengi. They always have funny things that they, like FCA and whatever. But sorry, what were you saying, Sirach?
Oh no, I was going to say the conditional love, unconditional versus conditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what Lita was saying. She's like, my love is unconditional. You're not going to put conditions on me. You're not going to say, I need to do this, this, and this. If you want to love unconditionally, then I'm available for that. And I think the biggest offense that Rom said to you was like, you're a gold digger, you're only after my gold, And
I
then
know.
that was kind of offensive, because number one, he's not exactly the richest guy on the
Yeah.
station.
What do you think,
I know.
Rom?
Yeah. If Lita was after gold, she probably could have done better.
Yeah, like
I
Quark.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like completely out of left field. Like, really, a gold digger? Like, you really don't have anything, technically, right?
I mean, not that I knew of, and not that Rom
Right.
ever knew of either. I mean, we didn't have the Grand Nagus vision in our future, that's for sure.
Right. So that was crazy. Just the fact that he was thinking that you were a gold digger, when clearly you've, up until this point, have been a very moral based character. Like you have followed your heart. You've been very open and honest, even when with Bashir and how you broke it off with him. And like it does, you've never at this point had come across like you were an opportunist of any way. I
No,
never felt that from your character. I felt like
no.
you've always been genuine in following your feelings and your emotions. And, you know, if it felt right, then it was right. And if it wasn't, then you were willing to walk away from it. You
Yeah,
never looked to me like an opportunist. Lita has always seemed like she was a genuinely good person. Even the thing
yeah,
that attracted you about Ram was the fact that he was standing up against his brother for the
Hmm.
workers' rights. And that's what kind of popped up into you. You know, that's how you, so that was what you found attractive about him was, you know?
yes, yes. And I just want to say, I know this episode is going to air later, but for us right now, you guys out in the audience, it's just after Labor Day, and I want to say how much I loved you guys sharing the meme of the bar association. There was something about
Right,
labor,
right, yeah.
you know, like the boss needs you
Mhm.
rather than you needing the boss. Let's remember that, you know? And a few
Hmm.
days ago, Biden said, you know, America was built by the workers, the laborers.
Mhm.
And that's just such an important thing to keep in mind these days as we struggle to create a world where, as I say, a world where we can all live long and prosper. I mean, that
Yeah,
was what
Hmm.
attracted Lita to Ram, and it's an idea that's so important that I in 2021 we're still struggling with that.
Hmm.
Apparently they were too in the future. When will we get it, right? Because most of us are workers, most of us are not in charge. Well, you guys have your own show, most of us don't. And you know, it's anyway, I think the pandemic also, I'm really rambling here, but I'll just say one more thing. I think it's the pandemic that helped us to keep in mind how important that integrity of
right.
hardworking people is.
How important those people really
Yes.
are when we're allowed to say it, the shit hits the ceiling fan.
Yeah.
When when that hits, suddenly we're not like, just you know, I'm on the phone. Just can you finish your job? We're just like, thank you so much. We love you. Can I tip you?
Hmm.
Can I? What can I do for you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that was sexy about Rom. Is my loop back.
Yes. You know, Srock, she also mentioned something about we have our own show. So that's where I got lost. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, do we have a labor class in our
So
show?
I think we are the workers of
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
our
It's
show.
both. It's really both,
It's a
I'm
We're
weird
both.
sure.
gray area,
It's a
but
weird thing.
maybe that's the wave of the future is not having such rigid lines between the haves and the have-nots. For once ever, that would be great.
Yeah,
Hopefully
it
that's
really would.
more of a wave of the future is allowing people to create, you know, more of that in-between situation rather than, you know, getting pooped
Yeah,
on all day.
pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, one thing, you know what I like about what you bring out in Rom, you make Rom challenge his belief system, and you put a
Mm,
clarity to what
Yeah.
he's already, you know, you make him clarify his position, so he has to like, I see him like it's like a puzzle or a riddle always when he's dealing with
Yes.
you. Like he's like, so I have to do this to get her to notice me. I have to do this. I have to do this. He's like trying to figure out how he can get your attention and your approval, right? So I
thank
like
you.
that you bring that out of him. I think that's what makes it work so well between your two characters.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's so lovely. I guess that is what great relationships do, right? I mean, people bring out the best in each other.
Mhm.
That's why part of why we love the people we love is because they do challenge us. It's not easy,
Mhm.
but it's not supposed to be.
Mhm. You know, I
Yeah,
really
yeah, he
like that
brings.
Sirach saying it's he's like working it out like a puzzle in his head because you're right. And it was certainly written that way, but also definitely, as always, portrayed beautifully that where Ram is piecing it together slowly, and
Mm.
deliberately, but very
Mm.
deliberate. Like you see, he is very intentional, you know, like
Yeah.
there's nothing sneaky or disingenuous about him. He's just like, okay, well, this is how this thing works. I like her. How do I get this to go here? He's
Yeah,
just kind of,
yeah,
you're right.
Right.
Yeah, I hadn't
yeah.
thought of it that way. It's
I
very
hadn't either.
yeah, it's very
Yeah, it's a puzzle for him. So he's like, yeah, exactly. Case, you
Okay.
got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed that when he was like counting the 2 piles of latinum. Remember, he had his latinum all spread out on the table,
Hmm.
and he was like, "I'm going to give her half of all my earnings." And was it O'Brien that
yeah.
says to him, "If you give her half and she has to sign the contract, then basically she has to give it back to you. So it doesn't really it defeats the purpose." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that won't work." So he's still trying to figure it out. So, and I give him credit for trying to figure it out because Cork is like, "Yeah, get out of here. I'm done with it. I don't want to figure it out." Right? This
Yeah.
is too complicated. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with money, and I'm not going to put too much into it. But he is leading with his heart, and I thought the best line of the episode was when he says, "Now we have nothing but our love." Right?
Yes.
I thought that was the best. I was kind of melted a little bit. I was like, damn, that would get anybody if somebody gave away everything they had just so they can say, now all we have is our love. Like,
Now there's nothing in the way.
how
Yeah.
deep is that? Yeah, how deep is that?
So deep and so sweet and so romantic. I mean,
Yeah, it's
right?
really romantic. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. When people risk it all and know that they'll make it because they're following their hearts and because they're good
hmm
people and they will have what they need. That's
yep,
It's not the way the world works, unfortunately, in many cases, but it's the way the world should work, I think.
should work.
Mm.
I mean, if there's a should, it's what I believe in. It's what I've done with my life. And, it looks like what you guys have done too. Having careers where we don't have security. We don't have a lot of the things that a lot of people rely on. And we're blessed and grateful to have had some good jobs. But there's nothing that says, okay, you're all set. But we're following our hearts and grateful to have some success doing it, at least so far. And yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling. What a
Well,
shock.
No, I
Chase,
would say
yeah.
that, yeah, in addition to what you're saying is like, um, Lita and Chase are very similar because that they are both principled people, right?
Mm.
Lita will not compromise her principles in order to satisfy somebody or get married or get ahead or whatever it is. She stays committed to her principles, and Chase, you have dedicated so much of your life to the things that you believe, to the principles that you believe about giving back and being kind and what you do with your charity and all the work that you do. So you have maintained those principles. You have built your foundation on principles and say, well, this is where I'm going to start, and business can start revolving around these particular issues, and I'm not going to step out of bounds in order to I'm not going to compromise myself in order to get ahead. I'm not going to sell myself short or be greedy or have any of these kinds of attributes that make somebody less likable. You have stayed with your principle of giving back, doing charitable work, and I think that your character and you have that in common.
So lovely, Sarak, to hear you say that. That's really lovely. Thank you.
You
And
know,
if I
no,
can
please.
I just say, I just want to say this, which is important to me. Not for any reason. I'm not against this, but I've never been married. I've always been on my own. I've always been independent, and one of the only women in my age range that I know who would say that. A lot of times, I think women feel like they have to rely on a guy, and as I've said, I know it. I'm very grateful to have some huge blessings via this show. But I also know, speaking to all the ladies or the men that might feel this way out there, you can do things by yourself that you don't need to rely on anybody for. You're smarter than you think. That Winnie the Pooh quote, you're smarter and more brilliant and whatever it is, you're more than you think you are. And I think that's a very Star Trek message. You don't have to go selling out your principles in order to rely on someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of heffalumps and woozles, it's a Winnie the Pooh thing as well. I also wanted to piggyback on what Cirroc was saying, Chase, that another thing that is very similar with you, Chase, and Lita is, everybody at home, we don't want, don't get it twisted. She's very charitable. She's very principled. But like Lita, she does have business sense and she doesn't suffer fools. And she's very driven and ambitious. I mean, these are two very strong similarities between you and the character, in that
Thank you.
There's success to be found doing what you are doing because you're driven and you're motivated and you've got that business sense. And so, I don't want that to be lost, that I think people are aware that you do work hard and that you are, an independent woman that's out there making things happen. And
thank you.
however, that being said, back to the charitable stuff, can you tell us a little bit about your coalition? Because we got to take our break in a few minutes. We want to make sure to talk about this because it's so cool and important.
Thank you. That is so lovely. And I always appreciate the opportunity. And I'll keep this quick. One of the things that we teach with the coalition is skills to get through life. And a lot of times that does revolve around mental health skills, such as healthy identity and empathy and resilience. And it also revolves around conflict resolution. And some of those conflicts can be within ourselves. We don't have to defeat the external enemy a lot in our own lives, thank God. But we have, depending on your situation, we have to defeat internal enemies and internal villains, such as navigating loneliness, depression, anxiety, fear, self-doubt, shame, the imposter syndrome. All of those things are lessons that we teach with the coalition, like giving kids actual tools. Like, if you're feeling this, it can help to do this. Think about this story when you were motivated and you cheered for this character on screen who was up against these same issues. You can do that too. And so I think that ties in well with what we're saying here about us being our own heroes, us being heroes for ourselves and for each other. One of our mottos with the coalition is we turn struggles into strengths. So I'm grateful for that. And could I just say one other thing? Because I know we're going to end the segment in a minute. Last night was Star Trek Day, and yesterday all day. And I have to say, Cirroc, how wonderful it was to see you on that screen. You were so powerful, sharing about Deep Space Nine. And for those of you who didn't see it, Cirroc was on the screen for the entire audience and the whole world, saying how proud he was to have done this show, how much it meant to have Avery be the captain and have the relationship as his son, how much having a Black captain meant. All of the beautiful, resounding truth that you shared, Cirroc, was so wonderful and so well spoken. And I just want to say, I was just so proud to be your castmate and friend in those moments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chase. Very special. Very happy to honor Avery and the work that he did and that we did. And it's really a blessing that I was able to even meet him. So just the fact that this show was able to bridge me with the people that I met, and specifically Avery, who's been such a father figure to me. I mean, that I take that with me to my grave. So that's a blessing, and definitely an honor to participate. Looks like Star Trek's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's been 55 years, and I don't think it's going away in another 55.
Right.
So it's just great to be part of that legacy, and I'm honored that they were able to portray Black father and son in the future um, in such an eloquent way.
Yeah.
So yes, it was very great, and and kudos to you and the work that you did on this show. It's funny because as I was watching this episode, I was thinking to myself, Lita, along with Mugi, are going to change the entire Ferengi
Yeah.
culture. Like I feel like I can feel it coming. I feel like
Yeah.
it's because and then that's really indicative of all people that are wanting, that are in need of change. It is those people, whether it's women or Black people or any kind of disenfranchised people. It takes those few people that stand up and say, "No, I'm not having that. I'm not accepting that. This
Yeah.
has to change." And eventually, it does change. And I think that when I'm watching your character kind of challenge the Ferengi rules, and I watch how Mugi challenges the Ferengi way of thinking, I'm thinking, wow, they're going to create the kind of change that is necessary for the Ferengi to evolve and become more mature about their perspective on women and how they include them in their society. And I think that it is all of us that have that power inside of us to make those kinds of changes. And
Mm-hmm.
I see
Yes.
you doing it, Chase, in your real life by the work you do with the coalition, and that's the work that we're all striving to do, is make a little bit of change in the world to make it a better place so that people can have a good life and friendships and all of these things blossom for us in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like
Thank
a
you
movement.
so much.
It's a
They
movement.
started
Thank
a movement on Ferenginar.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
wish it had gone on long enough to show that,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
know
You're
that
right.
it was formidable. And I also know that our t-shirt sales, which is a great deal of our the way we do this work, is
Yeah.
our upticks go, I mean, our sales go up every time you guys do a segment and talk about this. So we all do our part, and it takes all of us to make the world better. So thank you for your support of the coalition and how we get to do our BeKindMerch.org campaign, and you guys help, and it matters. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's the pressure's on, is what that means. We got something to live up to. Last
Yes.
time you guys bought
Yes.
shirts, you got to keep it going very quickly. So everybody at home, please leave us a comment below and tell us if you loved Sirach's speech at Star Trek Day. Let us know. If you didn't, come on now, you did. Of course, everybody did. It was awesome. And everybody, tell us how much you love Chase in the comments. We are going to include both links to her BeKindMerch.org website, where you can get all her goodies, and popculturehero.org as well. Check those out in the description box below. Support, make it happen, and share it around on social media as well, by the way. Chase
Thank you.
Masterson, you are always such a delight. You're wonderful, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule for us.
You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much, Ryan and Sirach, and I love your show. So thanks for having me back.
Make sure to be kind to everybody out there.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
And don't forget the merchandise, because that does help support the vision and help everything keep going. I was very happy to be wearing my Be Kind mask in Ethiopia, so thank you for that too, Chase. I got that wonderful gift.
That is so sweet. Thank you. That was
Yes.
so lovely. I appreciated that so much, and you brought me coffee too, which is like really the key to my heart. So thank you.
Yes, it's my pleasure,
How all this works.
and I was happy to be repping Be Kind right there. I had that one right there, Ryan. That's the one I was wearing. I was repping in Ethiopia, so I have to be the first Be Kind Africa spokesperson when you're ready to do it.
You are the best. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you. And you've got a charity that you with your is it your sister's work that
Yeah,
you're
my sister does the Abyssinian kiosk, and that's her. That's her brainchild, and I'm happy to be supporting her because she's so awesome, put so much work into it. So, but we love you, Chase. Thank you for coming and talking about this Ferengi Love Songs episode.
Thank you.
You're always welcome. We got some more Ferengi episodes coming up, and I can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you so much. It's always wonderful to see you. Truly. Thank you both. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you. And everybody at home, stick around. We're going to take a super quick break and we'll be right back on, guess what? The Seventh Rule. Now on digital and on demand, the new sci-fi thriller Zone 414 stars Guy Pearce, Matilda Lutz, and Travis Fimmel, set in a dangerous, dark colony of humanoids known as the City of Robots.
When the colony's creator hires private investigator David Carmichael to track down his missing daughter, David teams up with Jane, a highly advanced AI, and together they travel through the city, uncovering a crime that calls into question the true origins of Zone 414.
Stream Zone 414 instantly on digital and on demand today. It's rated R, but it's from Paramount Pictures, so you're going to love it. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
So we are continuing our review. God, we already covered so much good stuff, but there's still so much more. Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 20, Ferengi Love Songs. Well, there's a lot more to talk about. First of all, they were like, oh, wait, whoa. This is my impression of Kirk. There's like a meme with him doing that.
All right.
I almost forgot there were many trivioids in this episode. And here they are in no particular order. Actually, they're mostly chronological. Quarks is at war with an infestation of Vols. Rom and Leeta announce their engagement. Quark visits his Moogie on rainy Ferenginar. Of all the Bajorans' prophecies, Rom's favorite is Haran's seventh. Rom is the least Ferengi-like Ferengi that Dax has ever met. Ishka and the Grand Negus are in love. Ishka helps Zek win his 27th Global Tongo Championship tournament in a row. Oh yeah, 27th in a row. Sometimes I don't even know what I wrote. Ferengi love jellied gree worms. Grilka calls Zek Lobkins. He calls her my prize. Arsabite or futures are continuing.
Oh God, that voice is too accurate right there. That was really too accurate.
The Bolians have finally agreed to allow the Ferengi Gaming Commission to take over all their gambling emporiums. Grand Negus Zek has decided to allocate extra funds for research on a new breed of Hyperion beetles. Zek wants Quark to be the first clerk to the Negus. Damon Igel, I think that's what it was. Damon Igel cares about Duranium. He said, who cares about Duranium? Damon Igel. Is that something we're supposed to know, guys? Please tell us in the comments. I have no idea who that is. And lastly, Grand Negus Smeet was the only Grand Negus assassinated while in office. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of words I don't know how to pronounce.
Grand Negus Smeet in the house. Nice to meet you. No, that's enough of it. I'll let that go. But no, this was actually a charming episode. It was like a little bit charming. There were moments when I thought, okay, I think I know where this is going, but then it would just have a little twist here and there. Of course, the big twist was when Grand Negus was hiding in his closet. It's like,
and then Brunt pops in his closet. I'm like, that joke never gets old. Then he just pops up in his closet now.
Yeah, they just kept reusing that one, and it was actually pretty funny because when he does find Grand Negus the first time, Negus says to him, "You're not supposed to be here. You got to get out of here." And Quark starts, shuffling around and getting ready to leave, and then he says, "Wait a minute, what the hell are you doing in my
What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah. And I was waiting for him to make that realization, so I thought that was kind of funny. There was a nice little funny. It was a fun episode, It was anytime you get Moogie involved, you're going to get some comedy, you're going to get some funness. Right.
Yeah.
So I was already expecting that.
It was kind of like a break episode, right? You take a break,
right?
you relax. You don't have to think about the big Dominion implications and this and that. You can just kind of take a break and say, hey, well, what are the Ferengi up to lately? And then it was really cool the way they had both Ferengi romances going at the same time. And they kind of, the emotional, ebb and flow of both sides of the episode were going together at the same time. There's like the cute part, then they both break up, and then they both kind of come back together. They followed along the same path, so that the episode was just kind of going on, the same emotional journey with A plot and B plot.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that because it was actually, there were, like I said, there were very good twists in this. At first, for example, when I saw that Negus was with Moogie, I thought, oh, that's kind of this is not a good deal. I kind of I was kind of on Quark's side, like they don't need to be together,
Yeah, you tell him, Quark.
Yeah, you tell him, Quark. You give him a piece of your mind. So, but then they threw me for a loop when all of a sudden, then they added the kind of Alzheimer's dementia that Negus is going through, and I thought, wow, that's a great addition to the storyline to really show you how much Moogie's character has been taking on during Quark's absence, and when we don't know what's going on over there in Ferenginar. So I thought it was a brilliant way to kind of let us know and give us insight onto the importance of not only Moogie to Quark and his brother Rom, but actually to the entire existence of the Ferengi Empire. So I what a wonderful kind of writing tool that they use to introduce that concept.
Yeah, she's basically a hero at this point. She's sacrificing, her own fame and glory, and really, taking one for the team and just saying, okay, well, I'm going to make this man great because I love this man and because I love my home world. And so she's doing all this without getting any of the credit, and while still getting shat upon by the public, for wearing clothes. And there was a great line, speaking of clothes, what was that line where he says something about, she can't keep her clothes on, or wait, no, she can't keep her clothes off was the line, because it was like a play on, like, usually, back in the day, people would say, oh, this lady can't even keep her clothes on, or whatever it was. But now it's like, she can't keep her clothes off is the insult to the Ferengi, which was hilarious. But yeah, she's a hero. I do want to point out that there were, I think, 4 rules of acquisition mentioned. But one, this was the first time we've had a rule of acquisition quoted without them telling us what the number was. They said rule of acquisition number 208. Sometimes the only thing more dangerous than a question is the answer. There was rule of acquisition number 96.
I like that. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Number 208.
Yeah. Sometimes the only, okay. 96 is,
you got it.
is female and finances don't mix. Rule of acquisition number 229 is platinum lasts longer than lust. But then towards the end, I think Quark says, you taught me a Ferengi without profit is no Ferengi at all. And Ishka says, oh, but that the rules of acquisition don't apply to everything, or whatever it was that she said. So that tells us it's a rule of acquisition, but this is the first time they didn't tell us a number. He quoted one, but without the number. So that's interesting. So if anybody knows what that number is, which rule of acquisition that is, tell us. We are dying to know.
Yeah, and you know what? When you read that, it actually sounded like I had heard that in a different episode, and maybe they had already given us the number in a previous episode.
Yeah.
And now they're just repeating it now without
does sound
actually
familiar.
bringing in
You're
the
right.
number. It sounds familiar. Like a Ferengi without finances is no Ferengi at all, right? Is that what you said? Yeah, I think
Without
like I've heard
profit.
that. I've heard this one. It must have. It was probably in the other episode that Brunt was in when he was doing the.
You are correct. I just got the exact rule of acquisition and did a search for it, and it was from the episode Heart of Stone. So that was one. I don't know when we did Heart of Stone. It feels like it's third season or something, but it was mentioned in Heart of Stone, and I can't.
Now, Heart of Stone, is that the? That's not the episode where Kira's in that stone block. No,
No. Right now, the nerds are going like, "You guys are getting everything mixed up." I feel like that
Sorry,
is one
guys.
with Quark and Grilka. Am I wrong? God, I can't find it.
So I was thinking it was the one where Odo was let's see. Odo was kind of confessing his love to Kira.
Okay, so I'm just gonna cheat and look it up. Odo is upset that Kira did not allow him to turn down it. Dude, we were just talking about this episode, right? That did not allow him to turn down an invitation to dinner with the colony's governor. We were just talking about that on our Lower Decks review. Wow, that's so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the one with Heart of Stone.
So it is, yeah, but Heart of Stone is the one where Odo tells Kira that he loves her because she's trapped in that piece of stone, right?
Dude, you are right. You're good at this, Sirach. You're spot on. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I remember that one. So in that episode is where we also heard the this rule of acquisition that you looked up. Is that why it came up?
Yeah, Jake catches up to Nog at Quark's under the impression that Nog's interview with his father was a joke. Nog angrily assures Jake that nothing could be further from the truth, extracting a promise that Jake will go back to his father, take back his assertion that it was a joke. Jake is confused and asks for an explanation, but Nog refuses to give him one. Okay. Anyway, so, but what season was that? Anyway. Okay. Anyway, that was all said about from just us trying to figure out if we've heard this.
It is rule of acquisition. We're doing our rule of acquisition hunting. Hey, did Mayhardu have any lines in this episode?
No, he never does. He doesn't speak, but he did have. Oh, I found Heart of Stone. It is season 3, episode 14. Okay, I knew it was season 3.
Okay.
Okay. So back to the lesson at hand. Mayhardu had maybe my favorite moment in this episode. And that actor, Tiny Ron, is so good because there's not much he can do. You know, he just has a couple little things in a few episodes here and there. But there was a moment when Grand Negus Zek makes a joke at Quark's expense. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he just makes fun of Quark. You know, he's like, Quark, you're an idiot, or whatever he says. and he looks over at Mayhardu, and Mayhardu goes like, and they both share like a 1 second laugh. He goes, and he just goes right back to normal. It's funny. Like he laughs, and as soon as Negus turns back away, he just stops the laugh and goes, okay, back to whatever. And I'm like, that was such a good choice, you know, for him to just kind of like turn it on and off just when the guy's looking at him. But no, he never has lines. He's like Mr.
And he's like a Morn character, but you know, so there was also another moment there where Quark is talking with the Negus, and he basically is starting to realize that he is losing his mind, and then he's got you know cognitive disabilities, and Mayhardu looks at Quark like you know like this is what I've been having to deal with. Like I've been having to deal. You just now found out. I've been dealing with it for a while now. And I liked it was a subtle just eye movement, but it was, you know, it made the point that was necessary to make, which is, yeah, this is it's kind of crazy, isn't it? You know, that this guy is in this condition. But this also had some really great lines. This episode had some pretty good lines in it. I thought Quirk had a funny line when his mom was like, you know, when she finally reveals that she's been going out with the Negas and all this stuff, and Quirk sees the opportunity, like, wow, now I'm in with the Negas, like it's going to be great for me. And so he gives her a hug and he says, I couldn't be happier for all of us.
In other words, for me is what he's really saying.
In other words, for me. I was like, oh, that's a great line right there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in that. I like episodes where we explore a different race more or a different culture more. And usually they do it, you know, especially with the Ferengi in like a joking manner. Like we get to laugh at them like, aren't these guys weird? They're so silly. Wait a minute, don't we kind of do that a little bit? Okay, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really cool to like look at, you see their clothing is so different. Their interiors, everything feels very small and claustrophobic and Hobbit-like. And they have like this muted, you know, teal color with yellow everywhere, or presumably gold. And I remember thinking that I wish they'd chosen a different color other than the blue to complement the gold, because the blue almost worked and I wanted it to look uglier. I wanted them to pick like orange or just a color that would just kind of clash, you know. But I want to know what you thought of all like the interior, you know, the round bed, the circular doors. What do you think of all that?
It's funny you said that because I didn't write it in my notes, but I did have the mental thought cross my mind, which was, I thought it looked primitive. It almost looked like from the original series.
Yeah.
Like they recycled a set from the original series. It didn't have the kind of detail that I was expecting. And I think the colors were a little flat. Like you mentioned, the blue and the off-white or whatever it was that they had as the base for the walls. It just seemed so, there was no artwork, there was no texture on the walls. And as elaborate as their clothing is.
Yeah.
Right. So they're wearing these elaborate colors. They have, you know, all this fabric and all these different colors and designs and texture. You would think that that's part of their cultural, like everything. So their paint on the walls would be elaborate, their rugs on the floor. So I kind of think of something like Morocco, where, you know, when you're in Morocco, you see these very detailed craftsmanship on pottery and on the walls and the designs. I thought I would see more detail like that.
Yeah, well, the Ferengi aren't known for their art or their creativity, right? I mean, their creativity goes into figuring out ways to make money. And to them, that's art. They're like, it's beautiful. This scam is just, it's beautiful. You know, like that's their creative outlet, and obviously their hideous clothing. And who knows where that nonsense comes from. Like, you would think that they wouldn't want to spend time on elaborate designs because they're too busy trying to figure out other things. But somewhere down the line, they figured, hey, the more elaborate the clothing is, the more business-like I'll seem, or business savvy, or whatever it is. You know, they're trying to figure something out. But yeah, that is interesting that the interior of their homes are pretty drab, and especially compared to their clothing, which are just hideous. But I would wear it.
It's super elaborate. I mean, even with jewelry, you can see it behind you, Ryan, in that photograph. There's like a necktie. He carries the cane with the golden top on it. There's gold draped around beading and stuff. So yeah, they have this, I mean, you know, they're really elaborate outfits. So I would think they would translate that also to some of their architecture, or, you know, some of their design features inside of their homes. But I guess it was a quickie type of, let's bang this one together, and it looked very much like a
bang.
Hobbit.
Yeah.
It looked like a Hobbit house. So you mentioned Hobbits, so yeah, it did have that kind of a Hobbit look to it.
Yeah. Yeah, the hobbits
Uh,
love the round circular doors, so that would definitely remind me of that
yeah.
and how small it is. So I mean, I always think of J.R.R. Tolkien stuff just out of Hobbit.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, I had to do one.
That was all right. All right, that was good.
I-
uh, there were a few lines here that I thought were hilarious. Some of the chauvinistic lines that they come up with as these Ferengi are just. It's not just the line, but it's the way the lines are said. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think going back to we always give kudos to Jeffrey Combs, who's so fantastic in what he does. Jeffrey Combs killed it in this one as well. And one of the lines that he says that I thought was hilarious is he's just, I can just see it now, contaminating his very thoughts with her twisted female philosophy.
Yeah.
And I
Philosophies.
was
Like
just,
they're just these crazy, outlandish. What is this? Philosophy is such a funny way to use that. Yeah.
yeah, philosophies. I was like, philosophies. So I thought that was a funny little, and just the way he said it was like, he's like, it's hard for him even to get the words out because it's so disgusting for him to think about it. That's like, is this, I can't believe it.
Oh, real
That was
quick,
one.
another thing that Brunt did, and I hope I'm not
Yeah.
stepping on your foot here,
No,
but
no.
Jeffrey, as Brunt, did an impression of Grand Nagus Zek for a second. He did one line,
he did.
and he played Brunt doing an impression of Grand Nagus Zek. He didn't do an impression of
Yes.
Grand Nagus. He played an impression done by Brunt, and it was beautiful. I didn't
Yes.
write down the line, but he sounded kind of like Zek, but with the lisp that Brunt has and the forward sounding speech, that was really cool. And obviously, more kudos to the
Yes.
immense talent of Mr. Jeffrey Combs.
Yes, Mr. Jeffrey Combs. I mean, fantastic. And I did catch that. It was like almost one word that I think he said. It was the
Yeah, it was
moment when
very
he
short.
sat on, it was when he sat on the throne. He was sitting on the throne, and Quark says something to him about, oh, so your plan is to be the Nagus, and then he starts to go into the imitation of the accent, and then drops it right there, like, ah, I can't. But I thought that was funny. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like a nitpick is on its way.
It's
I
time
think
for the
we have
nitpick,
it.
damn it. When you get your Marauder Mo action figures, you do not take them out of the casing. They lose their value.
Oh, God. Okay. I didn't know we were going
Everybody
that
knows
way.
that.
But it's interesting you said that because I did have a note about that. I believe this is the first time, because now, when we talk about Discovery, Lower Decks, they are also making fun of some of the merchandising and memorabilia in that show.
Mhm.
But we actually got a reference to memorabilia and
You're right,
collectability
yeah.
and collecting this episode.
That's the first time they've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe it's the first time that they're actually acknowledging not only collectability and collecting things, but also the value of keeping them in the package. And I think Star Trek might be one of the pioneers of that concept of
Star Trek and
don't
Star
open the
Wars,
package.
definitely.
Yeah, don't open it. Just keep it in the package. So, you see action figures everywhere with unopened action figures or whatnot.
So we're just about out of time here. We could take the rest over onto the free-for-all in just a second. But very quickly, Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score. Jake Sisko likes to guess what he thinks the users of IMDb, those crotchety people, or sometimes those happy people, what did they give this episode?
I'm gonna say around a 7.6, 7.7.
This
In
one was
that
a
range.
6.8.
Whoa.
6.8. I think people are a little harsh to the Ferengi. People are a little. Oh, I heard you doing the Price is Right sound effect last time. Did you? Boom, 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 boom. So we're going to hit the free for all in just a second. Very special thanks to Carmen, aka Skillet, TJ Jackson
Skillet.
Bay out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin,
Arukin.
Yvette Blackman, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Titus Muller, Tim Baum, John Mann, Mark Rocco, Darlena Marie, and Rex A. Wood. What? All right, we're going to hit that free-for-all. We'll be right back on the seventh rule.
We're done then? Are we done then?
All right, here we go.
Our shortest one ever.
TJ Jackson Bay.
Welcome back to the seventh rule. I am the party guard, and we have with us today Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel.
Yeah.
Out in New Yeezy. We have Timothy Baum, number 11. We have, ladies and gentlemen, Rex A. the Admiral Wood.
Oh,
The
yes.
Admiral.
And
The A
welcome
is for Admiral.
the joy and smile of the show, Melissa Longo.
Hi.
And our host, Ryan T. Husk, and our star, Sirach Lofton.
Lofton. Nice.
Hello, hello.
Excellent work. Excellent work. Right. Yeah. Rex A. Wood. One of those A's stands for Admiral. He has like 7 A's in his middle.
Yes. And I can tell you 4 of those somebody would say stand for something else, but we won't.
I think we were talking about that off the air too. What one of those words
awesome,
stands
right?
for.
Awesome is one of the other A's.
Yeah.
Awesome is one, but there's a couple derogatories. A couple derogatories in there.
So we do have the return of Rex A. Wood. So very quickly, do you want to tell us what you've been up to? What's the news in your town, Rex?
Well, since I got out of jail, no, I'm sorry. Still doing the same thing, still working like I had before, but I'm really involved with Starfleet Command like I have been for quite a while. Moved up board of directors now, which means I have to actually do some work instead of have fun, but they've moved me to that. Still in Louisville. I'm not in Ohio and I'm not in Tennessee. So, there's been several places I've been before in these shows that I don't think I've ever been to, but I think Ryan, a couple of times you thought I was somewhere else, but that's fine. I usually am somewhere else.
I always do that.
I know. It's no problem.
Yet you're so good at geography.
There's just so many things in the world.
Yep.
Can't remember them all.
So really, same thing, living the COVID dream. And that's what I hope it is. I hope we all wake up someday from the COVID dream at this point. But
Also, yes, you got the new poster signed by Armin
absolutely
over there. That is so cool.
Yes. See it in the back there?
Yeah.
One way there. I don't know if I can do my own little.
Oh no, we got it. We
Zoom on it or not.
Look at this.
Ooh, fancy.
Magic.
Yeah, I can actually play that way, do weird stuff. Yeah.
Is that the Quartz Bar?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's the Quartz Bar one. And nice little message from Armin on there about, basically put direct ears to you, pal. Ears to you, pal.
To you. That's a very
Ears
good
to
one.
you.
Nice.
So
You
very
officially
excited to get
got
that.
you officially got a muted Timothy Baum laugh, so you know that is a good
Oh,
one.
nice.
I finally got that. It's taken so long.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, let's talk about this episode just a little bit, right? Shall we? Homer, we know you've got something fun to say. What do you got?
The one thing that comes to mind, I don't know if it's necessarily fun, and I think it would have been difficult to show this, but it's kind of like in, I think, Henry V, the battle scene happens off screen, so you never actually get to see it. It's like that smackdown of Brunt. We didn't get to see it, and all of a sudden they come laughing into Zek's office or his throne room, whatever you want to call it. So I would have loved to have heard a little bit about that, maybe some anecdotes or something. I understand trying to talk finance And a SmackDown in finance probably isn't going to be the most exciting thing for a Star Trek audience or anybody, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. And 6.8 on IMDb. Personally, I think it should have been a little bit higher.
10.
Like what? 10. Oh, big surprise.
It's one of my favorite
I'd I think 8 for me, and I'm
Yeah, I was thinking of 7.6 or 7.7. I was thinking it should be higher up. It did get a low rating. I couldn't understand why. I think it was a little bit slow in the beginning setting it up, but I think the episode kind of picked up pace at least like a quarter of the way through. And once they started introducing Brunt and all of these other characters, I thought, right, this is definitely going to get a higher rating than what it did. But I guess, you know, it is what it is. The fans didn't particularly like this as much as other episodes, but it was a break. It's good to get a little break.
I think there's going to be one of those episodes that the IMDb score slowly climbs up as people rewatch it and start to enjoy it more. And they start going, what? 6.8? Come on, man.
Like it suffers from like those militant haters of Ferengi episodes who were like really mobilized early on in the internet. So yeah, hopefully as time goes by, it's so brilliant. Everybody, it's just so wonderful in every way. And every time I watch it, I find like more things that I missed. And it's easily one of my top 15 Star Trek episodes ever. So good.
Wow.
No,
If
you've
not
said
top
that about
10.
pretty much every episode.
It's only
You've
because
only
so
said
many of
that
them are Deep
100
Space
times.
Nine.
You can't have 100 top
Okay, so top
15
15.
episodes.
You know what the working title for this episode was?
No.
How Quark acquired his groove back.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, how cruel. Okay.
It's true.
I thought we were going to actually hear some Ferengi love songs. I wanted to actually
I want those
hear
too.
Ferengi love songs. But you know, Homer, when you said that there was something in the episode you wish you saw more of, it's funny. It reminded me of the opening scene in which O'Brien is exterminating voles. Like he's on a 3-day war with the voles that keep replicating. And I kind of wanted to see that. There's part of me I wanted to see him battling these voles.
Kill those.
Yeah.
There had to be a scene that actually didn't get filmed that was written about the resolution of that. It seems like, because it was just there at the beginning and then there was nothing.
I think you can never fix it
Right.
totally.
Well,
He can't
they
get
got it
those
under
voles.
control, or the bar could
It's
be
been
open.
years now.
I just want to hope that they didn't actually kill any of those poor little animals.
I knew you were going to say that.
Mhm.
And they just
capture them and let them outside the station.
right.
They just drop
capture
them off outside your window.
You get a little cage. You get a little cage. You put peanut butter in the cage, and they go in. And it snaps, and it scares them a
Oh my
little bit. But
God.
once they're done being scared, you release
You put
them
Yamlik
out
sauce in it.
in the
Yeah.
full wild. And
But
you
how
just-
do you
how do you what?
how do you know they're not good eating? They might be good eating.
Well, then they'll find out in the wild. There's a
That's
lot
what we
of them.
say in
I
Kentucky.
envision that Bajorans had to eat them, like in the French Revolution in Paris when they were out of food.
It's kind of
They
like
were out.
that's what so that's the line we would use in Kentucky was good eating.
Yeah.
That'd be some good eating. Yeah.
Well,
That's
next
why
time
I'm
there's a
staying north of Louisville.
Ryan, would you like
Good
to
idea. Good idea.
volunteer?
Would I what?
Would you like to volunteer?
Dude, I love that. I was gonna make that joke. I was just gonna, and I've never been more proud than I am today. I was literally gonna say,
Doppelganger.
I was gonna say, Melissa, if they need someone to catch and release, would you volunteer? But
Catch and release? Sure.
Ciroc,
Catch and
you
release?
get me.
Yes.
For
The
catch
lady
and release,
balls,
yes.
Yeah.
For catch
Oh
and
my
release,
God.
yes. I would take them all back to Cardassia. I mean, there would be a million times more because they breed like tribbles, but you know, yeah, I would take them all back to Cardassia.
Yeah. Some of them as pets.
Some of them, well,
Any thoughts on this episode, by the way? You've got a really cool background.
Moogie. I love Moogie. I love this episode because of Rom and Moogie and Zach and
May Hardu.
Yes, of course, May Hardu. But I think they were missing Nog.
I agree.
I think that
I would too.
he would have helped his dad through this conundrum that he was in. Because, he was such a ladies' man, so why wouldn't Rom go to him? But
I was happy though that the backup helper was O'Brien, since it's really cute that when O'Brien got married, his wife had cold feet, and then he had to have Data help him get through the day. So I really think it's cute, and it's so romantic that in this episode, it's O'Brien helping Rom. It's so sweet.
Well, yeah, that's cute. And it would be really cute if it was that triad, Rom, Nog, and O'Brien.
I love
it.
Yes.
That's a good crew.
Rom out.
Comedy is ready with that triad, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a good call, Melissa. I think that Nog definitely would have been a good fit for this episode, and kind of helping his dad deal with what the struggles of trying to figure this out. And speaking of which, I wanted to say that it was funny because in the scene where Rom is trying to convince O'Brien that he's going to get Lita to sign this prenuptial agreement, essentially. O'Brien's like, "You think that's going to fly over well?" It's like, I don't think she's going to do that. And he's like, "Well, I agreed to wear this earring." I'm like, you can't break the two things, man. Like,
so funny.
You're wearing an earring, so
who made that earring specially for Rom?
I know.
And also, like, the makeup job is so good because when he takes the earring off, it doesn't even the ear looks perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't that his sensual region there?
That's why it was so funny. She's like, "Did you try stroking his lobes?"
Yeah, wouldn't the earrings be like a little bit of a?
Oh, good. Maybe that's why he had a clip on. That's why he had a clip on.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ferengi are more open about their sensuality than other species. I think.
Yeah, I think Graham Nagus was super open about his love for.
Oh yeah.
For Moogie. That's because I never been happier.
May Hardu's gonna cook. I got something else planned for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. May Hardu's so happy to help them have their own time.
Right.
It's just so he gets so happy watching them.
Right when she says anything you want to him, and he just
May Hardu's biggest smile.
Now
I loved it
Tim,
when Moogie said, "Did you try rubbing his lobes?" No.
Have some focus.
But Tim, do you have any other thoughts in the episode? Have you seen it recently? I think you have, right?
Yes, I have. I watched it again this morning,
Nice.
and I got to be honest. Initially, when I saw this episode, I didn't really like it, but watching it again today, it's like, oh, this is a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the initial reaction is, no, I don't like this. But rewatching it again today, it's like, okay, this is a pretty good episode. So
yeah,
that kind of seems to be how these Ferengi episodes go. And a lot of the Bajoran ones. At first, you just kind of think, it's okay, but then upon the rewatch, you really find a greater appreciation for it. And that's why I think that the IMDb scores will kind of slowly and gradually climb back up when people have their rewatches. But TJ Jackson Bay, Party Gorn, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Let's see. So I got two thoughts. First, we were talking about O'Brien helping Rom kind of come to his senses. But really, it was O'Brien that got him in trouble in the first place. He was the one that was like, "Okay, you're wearing the earring, you're doing the Bajoran wedding. What's she doing for you?"
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he ought to have helped him. He's the one that got him in trouble.
That's a good point.
And second, I think probably my favorite line or favorite kind of exchange in this is when Quark comes to the Grand Negus's throne room and says, I'm just here to pay my respects. And Zek says, well, pay them because he has
Yeah. Well, does he feel better?
All right, now get out. You paid him.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was a great line. Yeah.
Stuff.
There's
so many.
I want to have like a Ferengi house where I have like this box at the front door for people to come in, like, drop it off.
Did you pay your respects?
You pay your respects before you come in there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, yeah, there are so many lines in there that we didn't even cover that at all, and we keep coming up with more things about this episode that we like that we haven't even covered in the first 45 or 50 minutes of this. But we'd be remiss if we didn't point out there's somebody among us that has a nitpick.
Ryan, I actually
Is it
I have
BYO
one.
tie?
I don't think
I
he
have a
has
nitpick.
to. Hit it.
Homer.
I don't have a tie handy, but I like the scene where Lita and Kira are walking along and chatting. But then I'm thinking, wait, here we have two women and they're talking about a guy. So it would fail the Bechdel test, right? And so I'm like, thank you, Melissa. So I was thinking that it would be nice if it isn't always about that, or Moogie has somebody else to talk about on Ferenginar about finances, who is a female. So that scene, I enjoyed it, but it also reminded me like there could have been some stronger writing for the women in the cast for this one.
I feel like, first of all, Rom was talking to other men about it, and then also sometimes like that's a valid criticism, but also sometimes I feel like I don't like when they go the other direction because you're still a person and you want to talk about boys with your friends sometimes, and I love when you can do that too and be like a sick ass number one on the Deep Space Nine station, and you don't have to be like because it's very real to be like three-dimensional, and sometimes like in the middle of like awesome discussions, you also need to talk to your friends about men.
Yeah, and this episode specifically was about relationships, so of course it's more likely that they're going to be talking about it, but it just brought it to the forefront of my mind, and so it's something I'll be looking for as we go through the rest of the series.
It's just, that's what about Star Trek makes it so relatable to me, at least. Like this, how the women, you're not just doing one thing or the other. It's so they're so well written. They thought that was just such a really real conversation. And then I also just love those minutes or those seconds on screen when like Jake and Nog's dads are together.
Yeah, those are great.
It's so cute. Like that they're thinking, oh, we're the dads of two best friends.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
Speaking of cute, it seems somebody else also has a nitpick amongst us. And he knows who he is.
I thought of it while Homer was doing his, but the whole prenup idea, he didn't want to give away half his wealth. So his solution is to give away all of his wealth.
All of it.
It's like he would rather give it all to charity than share it with his wife.
That's a fun way to look at it.
I thought it's more, isn't it that Lita can't have access to it?
Well, the whole thing would, if she had signed it, she would have zero access. If she hadn't signed it, then she would have a 50% share in it. So his solution is, you don't need to sign anything because I gave away all my money. I have no wealth.
She doesn't sign it, but there is one to exist that could be signed.
Every guy's dream in a divorce. Just give it all away.
So I thought that was kind of like,
leave her with anything.
The moral of the story is either way, you're going to end up with nothing.
Yeah, but if she doesn't sign it, then it's like an act against his culture. Whereas this way, they just avoid the problem.
Melissa, you were saying something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think it's speaks more about Rom's character than anything else. He's more of a literal guy who is all or nothing about everything. So he sometimes misses the gray. So of course he's gonna give all his money away, even though he doesn't have to. He's just,
Right.
So we've got a few minutes left here. We do owe something to Mr. Tim Baum, who had technical difficulties last week. So we're going to do a quick callback to Ties of Blood and Water. You had a couple thoughts on there that we didn't have the chance to hear. We'd love to hear them now if you've got them remembered.
It was one of my favorite episodes, but the one thing that bothered me is how fast Kira turned when she found out about the military record. And the reason is, it seemed like that would have happened in the first season, but we've seen her grow, all the way from the only good Cardassian is a dead one to having almost a familial relationship. But she had to know he was a legate, which means he had blood on his hands at some point. He made it all the way up to the top of the Cardassians. And she all of a sudden goes, I can't believe he did this stuff, or he was part of this. And it's like, yeah, to me, that was unrealistic because of the way we've seen her grow. So that was one of my biggest nitpicks, but it still was a very good episode. One of my favorites. So that's it.
And let me add something to that, Tim, because I think you brought up a really good point that is very valid. And the other thing I would add to that is, because of Kira's nature, who we know her to be, I wouldn't see her shying away and trying to avoid talking to him. Like there was they did a montage where she was like trying to get away from him. She was trying to avoid the conversation. She's the type of person that as soon as she hears something, she's going right to your office, right to your quarter, and saying, were you a part of this or not? I need to know. She's not going to wait around and kind of mull over it and, be sad about it. She's more going to be in a defense mode about it and be like, is this true or not? Because I heard this and I need to know this right now. If I'm going to still even be talking to you, you need to answer these questions. So I feel like that's kind of the route she would take, given her character.
Can I add a counter to that?
Ooh.
Okay.
Only because, yes, she is all of those things that you just said, but I think that she revealed in her closing monologue that she was using it as an excuse to run away, as she did with her own father, because she had experienced so much loss and so much pain up to that point. She's losing another loved one. So she was using, not that it was a rational choice, but she was using it as an excuse to run away, not to be there for him on his final moments. So she didn't have to face that pain again. So that was my thought of it.
Right. So you're saying that's how she kind of deals emotionally with death of somebody close to her. She doesn't want to deal with it face on. She wants to kind of not deal with it and avoid it.
Right. But she eventually faces it, which is it shows Kira's strength.
Well, that's one of the things that surprised me was, going along that lines is she always regretted getting revenge for her father and missing her father's death. So it was like, I would think, okay, this is one chance I can be there for him. And eventually she was, but she did run away from it for a while. But
then again, she did say, how can I be there for him if I wasn't even there for my own father? How is that fair to my dad, my father? When actually it is more fair to her father and Gamora if she's there for Gamora's final moments, which she comes to realize.
Well, speaking of Gamora, we have no Gamora time left. That didn't work.
Oh god.
Oh, but really fast, did you mention
Oh,
the energy?
I guess we
10
do
minutes
have
in the
more time.
agonizer booth for that.
All right, very quickly, Anne Marie Siegel.
Did you see the energy whips with the Marauder Mo action figure? Which is like how
No.
they have the Ferengi in the
Yes.
I was looking
Yeah.
closely too. I was trying to see if he had bars of latinum or something.
No,
but
no,
there
no.
were
That
whips,
one's
huh?
holding
That's
an
cool.
energy whip coiled, and then there are like two others in the
Nice.
thing, and you can
Good eye.
you
Excellent
can
knowledge.
actually see like count my
And he shouldn't have taken them
like,
out of the
Scott
box.
Johnson.
Right.
But I guess like Ira had already written a book about Ferengi like before this episode aired, where they named a bunch of the action figures. So then they called back that and put it on the screen. But
Oh,
the energy
wow.
whip coiled up is so funny.
Brilliant.
Marauder
guys.
Mo.
Well, we got to run, but we do want to say special thanks to Melissa, Tim, Homer, Anne Marie, TJ, and Rex A. Don't ask him what the A stands for. You can ask him what the first 4 A's stand for, but the last 3, you don't want to know.
It's a little sketchy there. Last ones are a little sketchy.
All right. We'll see you all very soon. And go tell Sirach on Twitter and Facebook how awesome he was on Star Trek Day, by the way, if you haven't already. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule.